It's time for the Smash Our Stash collaboration. This month was free choice, and this month I decided to play with scraps, and I made a lot of different projects, so let's see everything that I managed to make with Christmas paper scraps. Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome. It is time for the Smash Our Stash collaboration. This is a collaboration that I host that just kind of encourages you to use up some of those items in your stash that maybe you just hoard or that are easy to purchase and you forget to use. This month the prompt was free choice. So all of the collaborators are going to be choosing their own theme for this month. So be sure to check out the hashtag in the title and the description box below, either place. And if for some reason that hashtag is bringing in some weird stuff, there should be an option to refine search to hashtag only. If you click on that, that will clean it up, hopefully clean it up for you, and you can find all of this month's participants. And like I said, this is always a fun theme because everybody chooses something different. It's whatever they need to use up from their own stash. This month, as I mentioned before, I am doing paper scraps, specifically Christmas paper scraps. I've worked hard on scraps over the last year, and I had a bunch. I hadn't touched Christmas yet, so decided to focus on that. And I kind of, when I started with scraps, I had a couple things in mind. One, I knew scraps would be something good to take on vacation when we went, because I just grabbed my bag of scraps and some embellishments and I could work on some projects there. And then two, I wanted to see what kind of, I knew there was some craft show projects that I could make to get inventory for our shows for this month specifically. So I will start with the cards. These are the ones I did first. These are the projects that I did first while we were on vacation. I have a bunch of cards in various stages of completion. I have two that are actually complete, and I did use, when I was on vacation, I kind of focused on two sketches. I had Operation Ride Home, sketch number 154, because that is one that's always in my head, and I forgot to bring the sketches over, but I will link them down in the description box below for you. And then Operation Ride Home, I think it's 172, only because I have the dimensions for the squares and rectangles kind of memorized. And so when I was cutting down like random bits of paper and strips, I just kind of focused on those two and then stuck them in each piece in a different baggie, or each type of piece in a different baggie. And then when I came home, I managed to throw them on some card bases or card fronts. So anyway, I have a bunch of these. I have a lot of this paper. You're going to see this a lot. I'm going to flip through these kind of quickly. But anyway, there were two completed cards that actually had a card base, a sentiment, and an embellishment. And then I kind of ran out of time. So I have some other ones a few other ones that are on card bases, but they either need a sentiment or an embellishment. And again, you're going to see a lot of the same recurring paper and the same layouts. I was just trying to work quickly through these scraps. This is actually a different layout. I just took strips. And then I have a bunch of cards that are matted that don't have a card base. So these actually still need a sentiment or embellishment as well. When I came home, I just kind of went through the other scraps that I had looking for pieces that were big enough for card mats, and I didn't have to cut any new card mats, so that was good. This, I had a bunch of card mats cut to fit like a small note card, so 3.5 by 5, I think. So I have some smaller ones that I was able to use, and then also had taken some cut aparts with me, and so when I made these on vacation, I tried to combine the cut aparts that I wanted to use up along with the scraps. And then now we're back to the two predominant layouts, and I got more of the sketch 154 with the squares than I did with the rectangles. And it was funny because I cut the squares first, and then I went through and cut ones that would work for the rectangles, and then I ended up with more squares because, you know, with what was left over. So I don't know how many I have. I know there's a whole bunch that I need to make card bases for. But I did make a dent in my Christmas paper stash. So I feel good about that. And there are still some projects that I want to do. I just ran out of time for. So hoping that I can like really get through some of those this month. I also made a handful of tags. Just used cardstock or bits and pieces that I had some stickers in my scrap bag that I was trying to use up. And I either used cardstock or cardstock with paper covering the whole tag piece as my tag. And then just used some of the Christmas die cuts that I had die cut from scraps earlier as well. And the last thing I did while I was on vacation was cut down the strips needed to go with my nugget holder. So in one of the last videos, I think it was Smash Our Stash from October, or Smash the Small Pads from October, I had taken a pad and then had cut pieces to be the holder for the Hershey's Nuggets. And I had someone ask in one of my last videos what nuggets I was talking about. They're Hershey's Nuggets. They're little milk chocolate candies that sometimes have nuts in them, sometimes they don't, but they're just shaped like a little gold nugget. But I have the holder, but I didn't have paper to be the wraps. So I cut down a whole bunch of wraps and we'll use these now that it's getting closer to Christmas time. I can go ahead and start putting these out at craft shows, but I will just wrap the nugget and then add them to my holders and put them in a bag. So I've got a nice big pile of those that will hopefully get me through the holders that didn't have any wraps. And then I started moving on to some like decor pieces that I wanted to sell at the craft show as well. If you watched one of it was the fall decor video I did from my Colors of Autumn pad, you saw me use these little scrap wood shape blocks, like, you know, little cube shape blocks almost. And I made pumpkins. Well, I decided that they would also make great little presents. So I did a couple of these. I managed to get a couple finished for our craft show last weekend. I got 3 finished and I did sell all 3. So they weren't coordinating colors or patterns. I had just made up 3 random ones. And so I didn't sell them as a group or anything. I just let them, you know, sell individually. And someone asked if I had any more that would coordinate because they wanted to buy them in groups would have liked to have bought a group of 3, but they didn't all work together. So this time I decided that I would, I'm still just going to use kind of like the random scraps, but then I would sell them like I have a bowl of them, some on a tier tray, but then a bowl next to it with the excess and say, you know, you can have one for, I don't know, $2 or $3 or 3 for a bundle price. And so people can pick the 3 that they want to bundle together. But I have most of the time just used like a really thin ribbon and kind of wrapped it around just like if you were wrapping a gift and using like more of a paper ribbon, but I just hot glued it. Like I used 2 different pieces and then hot glued it at the top. Some of them I used these cute little bows that I found at Hobby Lobby. And then other ones I just used bows. Like this one was a ribbon bow I had in my stash. And then this one I just made a quick bow. And then this one I didn't want to use white. I wanted to use something that stood out a little bit more. So I just used baker's twine. I took 2 pieces together and did it. This time it actually wraps just like a gift would. And then tied a bow, kind of ended up also making a double bow at the top, but then hot glued it to secure it all in place. So that's those. I had some small, like I guess bigger than the cubes that I made, but these are kind of like scrap blocks, like whatever's left after the cutoff from when my husband cuts down our other blocks. And so they're about 2¼ by 3¼ size, I think. So I had some scraps that fit the front, and so I put the paper on, and then I used a chalk paste and stencil, like a silkscreen type stencil, to add some images to the front, and I like how that white really pops against the red. And then I did some with a black and white plaid, and then red. And then I have one where I had some white wood grain paper that fit. This is like a 3¼ inch square block. And so I did put white paper on both sides, the white wood grain, and then I did Joy to the World with the chalk paste and stencil on one side, and Hot Chocolate Weather with the chalk paste and stencil on the other side. And then this is one I had that painted white already, and I had die cut Christmas trees, some random ones, and so I just decided to put it on the white because it popped. And then sticking with those little Christmas trees, I have used my silhouette in the past. Like if I'm cutting something out of paper and I'm going to have a little bit left, I will sometimes cut like shapes like this that I know I can use. And so here are 3 trees that actually coordinate. And I actually cut these out of scraps specifically for this project. I was using scraps the other day. And then this is vinyl, white Merry Christmas. And then this is one that I need to finish. I need to put my sunflower on it, but this was scrap black and white paper that I had a strip of, or like random pieces of. So I managed to use my silhouette to cut out the letters for home without the O. And then I have a sunflower that I'm gonna hot glue here. I just totally forgot to do that. And then I have a bunch of wooden trees. These are shapes that my husband had cut down. We make these every year around Christmas, and so I decided to start with ones that I could actually use scrap paper on first. And so this is a coordinating set. There are 2 different size or width of triangles. They go together, and then this is just another black and white one. And I do, of these triangle ones, because they're so simple, I do both sides. So if since they're smaller too, if somebody wants to put them in a tiered tray and it's seen from both sides, then at least it's covered. These more like pine-shaped trees are bigger and harder to cover, and so I just do one side, but I just used paper. I had a scrap big enough that I could get one of the big trees out of. So all of these projects that I've used the paper and the wood, I do use Mod Podge to adhere the paper to the wood and seal it. I've done videos on that before. And if you want to see kind of how I did these, I will link the video below with the pumpkins that I did. I'm hoping to do a video on the gifts too. But I will link the video on the pumpkins so you can see how I did it and what I used. But I got a lot of scrap projects done this month and did use up a lot of scraps. I still have some to go, but I feel better and I have a plan, making some more of these, and I need more Christmas tags for the shows too. So hopefully between these 2 projects I can use up a lot more scraps. I've used up most of the bigger ones already, so I don't think I can do any more big ones like the trees or these blocks, but I've got a ton of tiny ones, a ton of thin strips, so wish me luck on getting through the rest of my Christmas scraps. And again, be sure to check out the list and the playlist that will come up through the hashtag and see what everybody else made. I'm always curious. I always enjoy these free choice months to see what people choose and what they decide to make. Everybody has different stashes and different agendas and ideas. So thank you guys so very much for your time today, and hope you all have a very crafty day.